schools, we aim to facilitate knowledge sharing, professional development, and cultural exchange, empowering our members to make meaningful contributions to both the local and expatriate communities. At IIPA, we believe that together we can achieve greater heights through workshops, networking events, and community.
Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum and good evening to one and all. Welcome to our webinar titled Social Influence and Social Impact, a Professional Approach. I am Dr. Shafiq, your host for today, and it is my pleasure to guide you through this engaging session. This event is proudly organized by the Indian International Professional Association here in Saudi Arabia, where our mission is to foster connections, knowledge, and growth among professionals in our expatriate community. Today, we delve into a topic that is increasingly relevant in our interconnected world: the nuanced relationship between social influence and social impact. We are privileged to have with us Coach Syed Habeeb, a seasoned expert in the field whose insights and experience will undoubtedly enrich our understanding. His unique perspective on how social influence can drive meaningful change will provide us with invaluable tools and strategies to implement in our personal and professional lives. As we navigate this discussion, I encourage you to actively participate, share your thoughts, and ask questions. Your engagement will enhance our collective learning experience. Thank you for joining us today. Let us embark on this enlightening journey together. Now, without further ado, I would like to introduce our esteemed speaker, Coach Syed Habeeb.
Dr. Syed Habeeb, Coach Habeeb, is an author, motivational speaker, international leadership guru, and entrepreneur. Habeeb is currently the CEO and director of Tech Uni Ventures Pvt Limited. He is the founder trustee of the United Foundation, a Bangalore-based NGO, and the president of Mercy Mission, a conglomerate of NGOs in India. Habeeb was honored with the title of a superhero by the Kolkata Knight Riders in the 2022 IPL auctions, where his profile was projected alongside Andre Russell. His article, Unlike-Minded But United, has gained him the India's Next Big Writer and #1 author position in the National Writing Competition in 2022. Habeeb conducts coaching, training, and consultation engagements in India, UAE, Malaysia, Brunei, and KSA, and has trained over 81,000 people to date, including delegates from Emirates Airlines, Toyota, Saudi Consulate of Engineers, Govit of Karnataka, CDOT, Govit of India, Cognizant, Indian Institute of Science, DISC, St. Joseph's College, and Presidency University, to name a few. Habeeb has authored a globally launched self-help book titled The Warrior Within You that has received accolades and exceptional reviews on Amazon and many other platforms. His second book, Unshakable You, is completed and under review. His third book, Tie Your Camel, is published in 2021 and is trending at the stores. His next book, The Stripeless Zebra, has been published globally in June 2022. All his books are tied to a social angle where a percentage of profits derived from his books are committed to youth and student empowerment initiatives in the slums of Bangalore. Habeeb has been covered on TV for youth empowerment, The Economic Times Daily in Bangalore. He has also been covered on FM Radio Malaysia, Fever 104 FM Bangalore, and Radio Mirchi Bangalore.
Coach Habib sir, welcome to the webinar as a guest speaker.
Thank you so much.
Sorry for the technical glitch initially. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you so much. Jazakallah khair. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalam ala Rasulihil Kareem. Amma ba'd. Fawz billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. I think we have participants from various parts of the world. Thank you for hosting me, Dr. Shafiq, and the entire team. It's nice to know about what you people are doing. Without much of ado, I think I would like to jump into the presentation. If you can give me the rights to present, I would like to just quickly put up a PPT, inshallah.
Can you make Coach Habib as co-host, please?
So, Dr. Shafiq, if I may know, what is the time limit for our inshallah interaction, and what kind of
we can
closure
have
time
an initial presentation, let's say for 30-35 minutes.
All right.
Okay, and then we can take some questions if they have. And
Sure.
if you have some, तशनगी जिसको हम बोलते हैं, unfulfilled desire, ऐसा कुछ मतलब किसी का है तो we can continue for another 5-10 minutes more.
ठीक है, inshallah. So just give me a heads up if I'm crossing my time.
जी
Allah.
कोच हबीब साहब को आप को होस्ट बनाइए ताकि वो पीपीटी शेयर कर सकें. मीन टाइम ऑडियंस से रिक्वेस्ट है कि if you have any questions, please put in the chat box. We'll be taking the questions as in when we feel appropriate. And I think you are now sorry, Coach Habib को कीजिए, not Habibuddin. There is one more ID, Coach Habib, with the video and audio on. उनको post कीजिए.
Just a second, मैं अभी कर रहा हूँ.
Sure, please.
कभी-कभी टेक्निकल चीजें जो हैं वो पैरालाइज कर डालती हैं. Although the technology is there for helping us, लेकिन कभी-कभी ऐसा हो जाता है.
Yes,
sir, you
I
are the co-host now. Please continue.
Yes. Just confirm if you're able to see my screen.
Yes, sir.
Superb. Okay, I've put a question mark in the starting because I think a lot of people would definitely have this question where, what is this influence versus impact? And today's world, if you actually notice, it is highly influence-based rather than impact-based. If you look at whatever is trending in the world, there is a lot of influence, and there is only 20% of the people who are focusing on impact. So anyway, I will take you through a few things which I was trying to explore my own self to understand this very crazy topic, social influence versus social impact. How do we understand? I may not be I may not be here to give the most perfect view about this, but at least on the ground, and having lived through the COVID as a frontline part of the team in Mercy Mission, there was some very unique things which we were able to observe. So probably I can share that with you, and that could be really helpful, inshallah, to see how we can move or utilize the influence part to create actual impact. While I'm not, this is actually versus bol ke bataye, lekin versus is just to create that, the poles apart kind of perspective, but then we can use influence. So I'm going to dwell a little on that. So I'm just going to define a bit on the social influence part. so that we set the context. Social influence refers to the ability to affect change, okay? The thoughts, feelings, behaviors of others. It can be exerted through various means, persuasion, conformity, or authority, as people on the, especially on social media are today, our engagement is very, very extensive on the social media as compared to the human interaction. Even at home, if you look at people, if there's a group of, if there's a family sitting, you'll find most of the people interacting more with the media than in person. So that's the reality, right, at the moment. And it can definitely have both. Positive bhi ho sakta hai, har cheez mein jaise positive hai, negative hai, it can have both the effects. I'm going to give you an example of social influence, that is peer pressure, which we all know about. Celebrity endorsements, which have a very huge bearing. There are a lot of conflicting issues there. Social media influencers, there are a category of people who actually turn out to have a lot of fan following, and then they can turn out to become influencers, and that's how they put a lot of these ideas, thoughts, feelings into people's minds. So this is social influence. I'm just giving you a couple of a bit of feel on understanding how influential the whole media or this whole platform can be. Right now on the screen, you are able to see the image of an ant. Shafiq Sab, is the screen moving? Because I just want to.
I could see
I'm at the
ant or
yeah. That's the ant, and it is a category of ant called as the bullet ant. It is predominantly found in Amazon forest. It's one of the most painful stings in the animal kingdom. The bullet ant, the wasp, these are the creatures which are very small, but they have a very painful sting. And the kind of, there's a story that there was a gentleman and a person was studying ants. He went to Amazon. He set up a study center in the ant hill, and he camped there for months together. And then he kept all the cameras and all that, and he was studying the behavior of these bullet ants. Now, as he was studying the behavior, he did an experiment. He kept a little food, and he found that there was one very enthusiastic ant which climbed out of the ant hill and rushed to the food. So as it rushed towards the food, this gentleman, Sam, put a neon marking on top of the ant, a neon, ink spot on top of the ant. And then since that food, the piece of food was bigger, and the ants are usually very strong. They carry more than 10 times their body weight, but this was much larger, so it could not carry it. So it tried, and then when it failed, it went back into the ant hill. And few seconds later, it came back with 3 or 4 more ants. By the time it came back, Sam removed the food. So all the 4 ants came, and the neon ant leading the show, all the other ants discussing. They had a kind of a discussion, and then they didn't find the food, and they got back into the ant hill. Again, Sam kept the food. To his surprise, the same neon ant, looks like it was the hunter or the gatherer ant. The same neon ant came back again. Again, it tried to pick the food. It could not. It went back inside, got the other ants to come. By the time they came, Sam removed the food, and the same ritual happened. It was like almost they were discussing. You can see ants discussing, right? They have that, touch to each other. And once that was over, they got back into the ant hill. This went on for a few times. And then after the 4th or 5th time, when Sam kept the food, and then the ant went back inside and he removed the food, this time something very different happened. The neon ant came, followed by the 4 or 5 ants, but there was a huge ant, which was almost like the commander of the army or something like that. That ant came also. And they had a discussion. It was like they were checking for the food. They had a discussion. Once they checked the whole thing, after they couldn't find the food, it was like that big ant which came out gave a command to the other ants, and the other ants jumped on the neon painted ant and tore it into pieces. They cut it. They just destroyed it. They killed it. My story today about the ant was to pass a message to all of us. In the kingdom of animals, Lies are not tolerated. Imagine this ant, it was coming back and forth, and every time it came with ants, it could not prove that there was food. So after 4 to 5 times, the ant hill identified him as a liar. They said, "Ye jhoot bol raha hai," and it was completely killed. It was killed. So now, the moment I shared this story with you, I created an influence, right? I had the platform, the Zoom platform. I had all of you listening to me. I had this lovely story about the ant, which was a real story, I guess, because I heard it from somebody. But with all this, I left an impact, an influence, not an impact. I left an influence. I influenced you with the story saying that animal kingdom also does not tolerate lies. So this was the statement. Just keep this with you. Now, when you look at the screen, what do you see? If you can put in the chat, and Dr. Shafiq, if you can help me read out what's coming on the chat.
Yeah, sure.
What do you see on the screen? Anybody, just type out what you see.
Effort, runner.
Okay.
Man was trying to run, sprinter, runner.
Okay. Okay.
Runner,
Fantastic.
again. Athlete, running. Start of a race.
Running a race to win.
Fantastic. Okay.
Focus
So
to
now,
reach destination, something like this. Yeah.
So one was I gave you a story, and that created an influence, right? I can give a story and create an opposite influence as well. Similarly, I showed you a picture, right? I'm showing you a picture, and if I'm able to show you this part of the picture, it creates a particular perception. But the moment I complete the picture, the entire perception of your, representation in your mind changes. What do you think now? What do you think about a picture now? You can type in. How does it feel now when you look at this?
Courage. I'm just reading exceptional.
Don't give up.
Absolutely. It's a very different feeling. Feeling it change ho gayi. Think about it. The first part was an ordinary sportsman. The moment you see the second half, the lower part of the picture, your representation of this person completely changes, and it goes into the level of motivation, level of inspiration, courage, and a lot of other aspects. A lot of other emotions are there in our lives. So one was the medium of storytelling. The other medium of just showing pictures, and there are a lot of other ways in which the world is creating influence right now. Look at what is happening in the world with the younger generation, because I speak about the younger generation because this is the segment which is the largest population of the world. And somewhere, I also feel responsible to see that we are able to manage them, because otherwise, they are going to anyway become the influencers and impactors of the world if we are not able to hold them right at this moment, or at least channelize what we can. Like if you look at all the kind of stuff which is happening with them right now, is highly a present popular. This is very popular. You and I can't break through that popular system. No matter what we do, how much of lectures we give, what kind of motivation we give, the youngsters are not ready to listen across the world. And this is what is the current scenario. 80% of the youngsters, I can say even confidently 90% of the youngsters are highly influenced. It's an influence-based lifestyle. And it's highly disconnected from reality. If you notice what they are doing, a young kid, when he goes to buy a pair of clothes, you must have experienced it. They buy something weird. They buy something which is quite irrelevant, but it's highly relevant to the popular system. The popular system has influenced their decision making so much that if they do not wear the clothes which are defined by that influential system, they are outcast. They're not allowed to get into a particular group or a gathering or a meeting or a friend circle. That's the reality. So the influence we can't ignore influence. It has its portion. It's taking the world by storm. There is a way in which we all need to start working with influence. impacts. We can't keep away. We can't say that, okay, it's all, the modern day younger generation, they have to take care of it. No, we can't do that. We have to learn things where we are also able to influence and create certain impact. So there are various platforms today online, which right now, sitting in the comfort of our homes, we can create that influence, and we also can add it and top it up with an impact. We have to agree to this. If you are professional, if you upgrade our skills, anybody, you have influencers who are housewives, haven't studied anything, doing video shot from their kitchen and being able to influence millions of people. So what stops you and me? It's just that there is a kind of a hesitation we have, that we are not able to take on. We are not good enough. You don't need to be good enough to be a social influencer, and it has an impact. It definitely has an impact. Let's move forward. Look at some of the advertisements. People pick it up, and they convert it into impact kind of slogans. Just the ad, if you look at the ad, they are very disruptive. One of the mediums the media or people, younger generation, or the people who understand the mindset of people, they use disrupts. This is one of the words I would like you to remember. In influencing or impacting, disrupt plays a huge role. It's not the norm. Norm is boring. People don't want to look at the norm. Look at the disrupt. You have a Colgate ad in the back, but you have a person without teeth. It creates a disrupt. But then what happens? It creates an influence. It influences you. It also creates an impact. Look at how the ad is, formal. I'm just taking you through to understand how the world is moving and what kind of, look at this. This is a beggar. He's sitting with a bowl, and he's got a MasterCard ad on that particular vessel. And today it's gone beyond. You have QR codes and all that. So there are disrupts. Disrupts are taking the world by storm. If you go back, it's not new. We may think it is new. It's not new. You have history, speaking out loud, that influence has created certain amount of impact, especially on the younger generation, right? History, 1892, Wrigley's, look at the ad, and they haven't changed much of that ad. If you look at it, it's create influence. Then repeatedly, what is influence creates an impact. If you repeatedly do the same thing again and again, what does it do? It creates an impact, and it's unconscious. Look at this. These are years, 1911. This is an ad from 1911. And this is, an ad from a little later times. And you can see here, 1905, 24, 32, 41, 57, 89, 2002, 30. Jitne bhi ads you're seeing or the wrapping, not much has changed. This creates an impact on the human conscious and the unconscious mind. So not just influence. What's the difference between influence and what's social impact? So influence is something we just treaded now. We know that it has, the downside of influence, the downside or the negative of influence is that if it's not repeatedly done, it dies down. It sort of dilutes. You see a lot of reels which you watch, and the moment you watch the reel, it's like, wow. But the moment you watch another couple of reels, the first reel is lost in the mind. You can't remember it, right? So if you need impact, there are certain things we need to do. And I think if we all are able to get this point, we can significantly change the ecosystem, at least to the influence we have, to the circle of control we have. So let's move into the impact side. So I just discussed the influence side. I'm moving into the impact side. True intelligence is to add value to people. That's the difference. Most of the people who do influencing do not add value. They influence, they try to promote, they try to push certain concepts, they try to push some communication, but it seldom creates a eureka moment or a kind of an incredible invention that requires a lot of hard work. It requires design thinking. Design thinking is a subject I'll probably take up some other day with you all, but design thinking is a modern concept where you can actually implement a solid impact by being empathetic. Jab tak, until we are selfish, we think about our own selves, we keep influencing, we are at the influencing doorstep. But the moment we think about others, we say, the purpose of my life is to see that how I can make a difference to another fellow human being. That's when the doors of impact open. And that's exactly what we saw during the COVID. There were people who were scared to come out of the houses. They didn't step out of the house. In fact, some of them didn't step out of their rooms. I know of cases people have locked themselves in rooms and they didn't come out. But there were others. So they were quite influential. They created that noise saying that don't get out of the rooms, right? They were influential. But then the people who created impact were the people who walked out of the houses to serve others. This is a big differentiator. And impact is created when you think about others. And time immemorial, you look at the stories of the prophets, all the prophets lived for impact. They didn't just live for influence. They created an influence. They through their communication, they created influence. But their goal, the intention was impact. Influence was a tool. Influence was a tool. Intention was impact. So look at this, for example, the lady with that hand. It's an impact. Somebody created an impact. Using influence to create impact is true leadership. That's the distinction I want to establish today. So a lot of people are there who are influencers. They sit in the comfort of their houses. They create videos. They create some content. They create a lot of influence. But then those things don't last much. People who create an impact are the people who use influence, but they're out there with an intention to make a difference to people's lives. Watch this video. One of the ways you can create impact. Is the audio there?
No, sir.
So how do I enable the audio?
You can stop sharing, and then starting again, there is share. Just click the icon there next to the sound.
Let me try it out.
No, just stop sharing, and then while starting again the sharing button, there is one small on the right hand side. There is a button for sound, optimize for sound, or at the bottom.
When you share.
Yeah, when you are about to share, on your right hand side, options are there. Layout and options. There are two icons, one for share sound and then optimize for video clip. If you don't see on the right hand side, it will be at the bottom.
Okay, just let me check once. Right hand, top right hand, are you saying?
Yeah, layout options, or or just check at the bottom of your slide.
Optimize for video clip. Huh?
Yes,
Share sound.
Just click both.
Share.
Yeah, sound.
Got it. Yeah. Yes, thank you so much for that. Is it playing now?
Not yet.
Yes, I think it's tethering.
Yes.
Is it playing?
Yeah.
You there, second desk, blue jacket. What is your name?
My name is Alexis.
Alexis, please leave my lecture room. I don't want to see you at one of my lectures ever again.
I don't understand.
I am not going to ask a second time. Thank you. Why are there laws? What are laws for? Anyone?
Social order? To protect the person's personal rights.
So that you can rely on the government?
Justice? Thank you. Tell me, was I unfair to your classmate just now? Indeed I was. So, why didn't any of you protest? Why didn't any of you try and stop me? Why didn't you want to prevent this injustice? You see, what you have just learnt, you wouldn't have understood in 1,000 hours of lectures unless you lived it. You didn't say anything because you weren't affected yourself. And this attitude speaks against you and against life. You think it doesn't concern you, so it's none of your business. Well, I'm here to say, if you don't help bring about justice, then one day you too may experience injustice, and there will be nobody there to stand before you. Truth and justice lives through us all, and we must fight for it. Because in life and work, I mean, we often live next to each other, but not with each other. We console ourselves that the problems of others are nothing to do with us, none of our business. And we go home glad at night that we're spared, but it's about standing up for each other. Every day an injustice happens in business, sport, or on the tram. Relying on someone else to take care of it is not good enough. It is our duty to be there for others, to speak up for others when they cannot. I am here to teach you the power of your voice. I want you to learn critical thinking to empower you to stand up for what is right, even if it means going against what everyone else is doing. Let's begin.
Thoughts, anybody? I mean, it would be good even if you wish to share what you feel right now. If you could unmute and share, or even if you could type it out.
You should not tolerate injustice.
Absolutely. What else?
It is about standing for others. That is like standing for ourselves.
Fantastic. But what do you feel about the video? Did it leave an impact? Was it influential? Yeah. See, there are ways and means. If the same message was communicated by me through a lecture, instead of showing the video, through that creative way of dramatization, it would not be as impactful, right? So this also creates a lasting memory. I'm sure many of you will remember this video for a long time. And when next time you see some injustice happening in front of you, you will not keep quiet. You have an impact. You will convert, inshallah, you will convert that into your behavior, where you will stand up and say, I don't accept this. I stand up for somebody who's under, the acts of injustice. So that's how powerful using influence, social media influence, is to create impact. In fact, there was what was happening during COVID. I would like to share this experience. During COVID, we had this problem of doctors not coming to the hospitals. Doctors also were scared, and we had the shortage of doctors was there. We created a video, and one of our fellow doctors stood in the middle of the ICU, where there were so many patients around, and there were not many doctors. And there was a struggle going on where people were running from one bed to the other, trying to save lives. And then he reached out to plead to the doctor saying that we have patients here. We are not able to manage. Why don't you please come and join us? That video created such an impact that we had a flood of nurses and doctors who came and joined in. It gave courage to people to say that, yes, we have to, it's a right, it's a duty of a doctor or a frontline worker to move forward and support another human being who's struggling. So this is the kind of impact it created. That influencing video created impact. But then the intent was to save mankind. The intent was to help somebody else. Now, if you look at this, the graph which I've put up, it looks a bit complicated, but then we have stages. First stage, we don't know. We don't have the knowledge. There's lack of awareness. What influence created is it starts creating awareness inside us. So we move from absolute ignorance to a stage where we know that there is a need for something. And from there, we try to put our own efforts, and that struggle creates a conscious competence. That's where we start struggling to learn. It's just like cycling. The first time you don't know that you don't know cycling. The moment you start creating awareness, then you want to cycle, then you start struggling, but it creates a conscious competence of you struggling to cycle. But once you go through that cycle, then it becomes unconscious competence where you don't even know that you have that competence inside. So working with influence and impact is exactly like this. You can't sit and think about it or write about it and learn it. It's like swimming or cycling. You have to dive into the impact zone where you want to create that social impact. Just sitting and learning in a classroom will not enable you. You can become an influencer, but you will never be able to create an impact. So you have to get into the swimming pool. So, and that's what true skills is, and that's how we learn. Now, look at some of the areas we can create impact. Look at areas, because today, even taking a small topic, one single topic, you don't have to do everything. You don't have to go out and say, I want to become a warrior to make a huge change in all the sectors of the world or all the sections of society. You don't need to do that. Pick up one issue which is bothering the society at large. Pick up one issue which is bothering the lower segment, the deprived segment of society. Just one issue. It could be drugs, for example. And it's very popular. You just have to prove to the people that everything popular may not be right. Because 80% are into it. 80% of that segment is mubtila bolte na. They're completely habituated to it. So it just take one segment. So I'm just giving you a few segments where you can stand up and speak against it, at least, right? So I'm just giving you a few segments. Popular habits can be highly damaging. So you need to stand up. Kuntum khaira ummatin ukhrijat linnas. You can pick up one segment which is actually damaging mankind and become an ambassador to try and change that. Just one segment. 80% are into it. It's a popular practice. Dowry, for example. Alcohol, for example. Look at what's happening to the younger generation. These kind of drinks are as detrimental to a human body as alcohol. Though it may not be declared as haram, but the kind of, look at this ad. Red Bull gives you wings. Have you ever seen anybody flying after drinking this? It's such a lie. Lies are being propagated. And we as believers, we need to stand up and say, this is not true. This is not right. And we are the ones who go and buy. If our children ask us to buy something like this, we just say, okay, he is just having it. It's not haram. So let's have it. So we need to be people to stand up and say that whatever is being propagated may not be right. Mentos, for example, there's the Indian ad which says Dimag ki batti jala de. That means the moment you have Mentos, you're going to become brilliant. You're going to be super intelligent. Such a lie. How can we tolerate this? How can we even, accept it? People are paying money to buy this. Look at that ad. it's so detrimental itself, you know. Even angels will fall. इतना घटिया बना के रख दिए हैं कि we don't have any other options, that we have to go and buy this. And the popular attitude across, and that's what we also look at, you know, the elders of the house propagating through their, you know, acts, through their you know, habits and behaviors, where they always talk about putting somebody down, you know, talking bad about somebody and saying that we need to see how we can defeat the competition. You don't need to. True values is about I win, you win, everybody win. That's how our deen teaches us. You know, we don't have to put somebody down to be able to win. So 80% of the world is going with popular, you know, narratives. So there are models to create impact. Groups usually create lesser impacts. Teams usually create better impacts. So groups, usually you see when a group is there, it's very, either it is dictated by somebody, or a group could be quite maverick. A group can be instigated and they can go wild. Group can turn into a mob. But then the same group, if we are able to put them into a team, now that's how I think your team also, what kind of good work and hire you people are doing, is because you've come together as a team and you work together with everybody, and that's what is creating an impact. Now, when you create teams to create social impact, you'll have to understand that any team in this world goes through 4 stages. The first is you have to build, you have to form people. That's when people come together. And it's very nice, it's inspirational, it's very exciting when you come together. But immediately once we come together, the next stage is storming. People do not like each other. People have conflicts. People have difference of opinion. People have breakdowns. That is the phase where the leaders have to come together and manage people and allow them to go through the storming so that they go into the next phase, which is norming. You normalize. Even in a marriage, if you see, you have the forming where you come together as a couple, and then you have storming. There is differences. There is, you know, disturbance. There is breakdown. But the couples who go through storming with patience start norming, and once they norm, they start performing as a team. So these are the 4 stages. We need to come together, build teams for social impact. And there are many styles of managing and leading. There is one authoritative style where it says that I want you both to work. Somebody dictates and says, I want you to work, just complete the work. There is a style which says, let's work and solve this. You know, to create impact, you have all these styles. Let's solve to work this. The other one is delegative. You two take care of the challenge while I handle the problem. Which kind of style should we adopt? The latest style, which has created incredible impact across social and non-social sectors, is the style called situational leadership. That means you can adopt to different styles based on the situation. So if you are able to do this, if you're able to look at how influencing people is important while intending to create an impact, to make a difference to other people's lives, is something which we can explore. And it's a huge, huge field. And no matter how much we do, is always a shortage. So I think with that, we have come to, I think, almost 40 minutes of discussions or presentation, inshallah. I'm open to take some questions. I hope that's fine, Dr. Shafiq.
Jazakallah khair, Habib sir. I think initially people were not understanding the discussion kis taraf ja raha hai bolke, but last few slides I think should open our eyes. Ke bhai, if at all you want to have an impact, तो किस तरह से काम होना है, you know, what are the benefits of groups and teams, and you know, leadership का role कैसे होना चाहिए, as a team member कैसे काम करना चाहिए, and how the influencing affects our society. मैं यहाँ अगर viewers को बताने से पहले एक सवाल आपसे पूछना चाहूँगा. लेकिन I think before that let me announce this announcement. अगर कोई क्वेश्चन है आपके जहन में तो आप अनम्यूट करके बोल सकते हैं या फिर चैट में डाल सकते हैं. We'll try to answer that question. If you have any questions, please put in chat box or unmute yourself and ask the question to Coach Habeeb sir. So sir, मेरे तरफ से एक सवाल था कि हमारे पास चूंकि यहाँ ज़्यादातर प्रोफेशनल्स हैं और you know they are coming from different backgrounds and different sectors. टाइटल से लग रहा था उनको शायद कुछ सोशल सर्विस का होगा या समथिंग लाइक दैट. तो इवन इन दैट केस, of course they have understood the difference between the social influence only and the impact. Of course, for impact we need to work hard and in a professional way to get the results. अगर कोई चाहता है कि भाई कुछ सोशल सर्विस करे, लोगों को हेल्प करे, whatever means they can do it, irrespective of the caste and creed and the nationality. क्योंकि लोग ज्यादातर जो है गल्फ कंट्रीज में रहते हैं, तो they encounter many nationalities, and even from India itself people come from different states and languages and caste. तो इन सब में रहते हुए अगर कुछ सोशल वर्क करना चाहते हैं या फिर प्रोफेशनल किसी की फाइन ट्यूनिंग करनी है, अपस्किलिंग करनी है, ये एक काम है, इट्स अ चैलेंज. तो ये टॉपिक के तहत क्या कुछ किया जा सकता है? आई मीन, ऑफ कोर्स यू हैव कवर्ड द टॉपिक, बट आई एम जस्ट ट्राइंग टू make it little simple for those who have joined late, कि कोई सोशल इम्पैक्ट होने के लिए एक छोटे से छोटे काम को भी कैसे मौसर या इम्पैक्टफुल बनाया जा सकता है.
Collaboration is the key. I have witnessed during the problem with even the social sector. I had this perception that when you get into social sector, everything is going to be hunky-dory. It's going, because why? Because there's no competition. People are coming here to do something good for mankind. People are coming here to do something good for others. So there should not be a competition, that ill feeling, or that corporate ke andar you have a lot of people having jealousy, trying to pull each other down. I had this perception saying that if you go into the social sector to create an impact, you will not find all these problems. But it's completely the opposite. There is a lot of jealousy, a lot of competition, a lot of pulling each other down in the social sector. And I don't know how. It's pretty crazy to observe that. And the antidote for that is collaboration. That's the best thing you can do. In fact, during what happened, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala taught us during the COVID that you can't handle this problem. No matter what you do, tum kuch nahi kar sakte. This was the clear communication which came to all of us. I mean, we felt so hopeless, helpless, right? Initial stages mein kya karna samajh, government was not able to understand what to do. Then what happened? Slowly the evolution of people coming together. 30 NGOs in Bangalore who never worked with each other, who did not want to see each other's faces. All the 30, 40 came together. And then we said, let's create a common war room. And all the news or information, intelligence will be dissipated from the war room to all the NGOs across Bangalore. So you don't need to, duplicate the work. And then we started creating segments. Who's going to handle the hospitals? Who's going to handle the medicines? Who's going to handle the dead bodies? Who's going to handle food? Who are going to handle the kitchens? Can you believe it? The kind of impact, the numbers, if I'm someday sharing the dashboard with you, it's just incredible. One NGO cannot do. So collaboration is one of the ways. Drop your, this obsession for your own organization. Tumhara logo, mera logo. Ye pada, it's a very, very dirty thing to do. You keep logos, you create organizations because you want to create professionalism, not competition. So in that space, if we are able to create more collaboration, we will be able to create bigger impact.
एक छोटा सा क्वेश्चन था कि हमारे यहाँ प्रोफेशनल्स जो है काफी अच्छे, मतलब अपने जॉब्स में हैं, दे आर वेल सेटल्ड एंड अपनी सैलरी है, बीवी बच्चे सब ठीक ठाक हैं. जब सोशल की बात करते हैं तो दे थिंक इट्स ओनली सोशल सर्विस एंड आई एम नॉट गुड एट इट, लेट दोज हु आर डूइंग लेट देम डू इट. ठीक है, फिर वो अपने 4x4 के इहाते में रह जाते हैं. सो पीपल डोंट कम आउट फॉर जैसा आप बता रहे थे कि इम्पैक्टफुल होने के लिए you need to get together, you join the like-minded people, try to contribute in whatever way you can. तो इस तरह के अक्सर प्रोफेशनल्स में एक पर्सनालिटी देखी गई है कि दे आर सो कॉल्ड इंट्रोवर्ट, मतलब दे डोंट वांट टू इंटरेक्ट विद अदर्स. पता नहीं, एक अनडिफाइंड फियर सा है, तो उसको कैसे एड्रेस करें?
I think there are a few questions on the chat also. Dr. Saab, आप देख लीजिए.
जी.
तो I feel See, it's how what you believe. I think belief, हमारी जो the belief system is what drives us. I don't know. I mean, for us, I'll just give you an example. And I would, if you haven't started, like, most of the people here must be working, married, having a family, having children. That's what I assume. So I'll just let you know that it's very, very important for us to understand that human beings don't listen. Human beings don't listen. जितना भी आप मैं जो बोल रहा हूँ, it will not have a lasting impact. I know it very well. But the message is that human beings watch. We learn by watching. We watch and learn. Right? Your children are not going to listen. No matter what lectures you give, they're not going to listen. बचपन से जो अपने वालिदैन को करता हुआ देखेंगे, that is what the younger ones will end up doing. And I've seen this as a statistics across. If you have not seen your parents doing something for the community, going out of the way, even to the matter of fact that helping the maid in the house, you will not have that attitude. So it is high time, if at all you want to see that next generation does something, with an impact for society, when you start doing it, don't wait. At least for that, to create that in their, systems. Otherwise, you will be not doing. You'll be doing khair by probably hiding and doing it, but that's not the only way. Some of the khair, some of the contributions, so some of the social impact, you have to do it loudly so that they understand. My dad used to bring beggars because we were struggling. We were a middle class family. My dad and mom used to bring beggars home and train them to get out of begging and start some work. For me, it used to be confusing. Why are you doing this? I mean, I never understood at that time, but they never explained. They never gave a lecture on it. But eventually, I understood that this is one of our obligations, that a person who believes in the Supreme, in the Almighty, in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one of the obligations is to be of use to others. So this is about your belief, basically. So it's not an option, it's an obligation.
I think you have answered the last question in the chat box. So I will go on to the next question. Being alone, how can I change the evil in the society, like dowry and all those things? So,
start from your own self.
करना चाहते हैं.
Start from your own self and at least your family. Talk about it in gatherings. Talk about that in family and have an open discussion. And you know what? The beauty about younger generation is, if you tell something reasonable and if you tell something, which can be discussed, they are very open. They understand. In fact, when I speak to my children, they say, no, it's impossible for us to even think about taking any money from anybody, leave alone the person we are going to get married to, leave alone that. किसी और के पास पैसा लेना ये हमारे दिमाग में आ ही नहीं सकता, because you have open conversations. So I think you can start from your own family. Don't try to change the neighborhood or the city before you don't try to change your own ecosystem inside.
The chat box में एक सवाल है कि impact can be created by addressing social or human issues only, or is there any other way?
See, there is this concept of people bracketing deen and dunya. The way one leads his life through dunya is deen. The way we lead our lives through this dunya is actually deen, right? Do not segregate them. Right now, if you are working hard and earning a living, bringing in food to your family, you've already started creating that impact. You're doing righteously. You're bringing food home. You're feeding your wife. You're feeding your children. Your wife is taking care of the entire house. It's a system. It's professional, right? Your wife cleans up the place. You help her out. You work as a team. You sit and talk to your children. You groom them. All this is a part of impact. Why do you have to just think that you want to go and change some people who are very poor in the slum? Only then I'm creating social impact. No. If we intend that, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opens doors that you'll be able to create more impact. Talking nicely to the person who's managing your security in the building, talking nicely to the lift man, talking nicely to the driver is social impact. I have met people who were on the verge of suicide, Just because somebody stood and spoke to them nicely that day, they gave up the idea of suicide and changed. Don't underestimate your small actions. That is where impact lies.
एक सवाल है, मैं उसी को थोड़ा मॉडिफाई करके पूछ रहा हूँ आपसे कि प्रोफेशनल जो है, मतलब दे आर बेटर देन एनी अदर layman or uneducated person. तो they are educated, they have a good job, they are well settled, and हो सकता है अच्छा खासा इन्वेस्टमेंट कर लिया हो. I mean financially they are okay. तो जब उनसे बात की जाती है कि भाई सोशल सर्विस इज ऑल्सो इम्पोर्टेंट, तो वो कहते हैं कि भाई हाउ कैन वी लीव द जॉब. ठीक है, जॉब करना भी जरूरी है, लेकिन सिर्फ जॉब ही करना एक एक्सट्रीम है. दूसरा, बिल्कुल छोड़ के जो है फाइनेंशियली अनस्टेबल हो जाना एक अनदर एक्सट्रीम है. तो हाउ डू यू बैलेंस दिस टू थिंग्स एंड एट द सेम टाइम यू डू सम सोशल सर्विस? In other words, social activism हमारे अंदर कैसे पनप पाए?
It's a difficult, very, very tough question. I think it's about your belief. Many people, one thing which I believe very strongly is what we communicate to our own self first. We have a set of communication or a set of incantations. Incantation मतलब जो बार बार हम बोलते हैं, वो हमारी हकीकत बन जाती है. बहुत से लोग, मैंने बहुत अक्सर लोगों को देखा है that a lot of people say, I don't have time. I don't have time. I don't have time repeatedly. You know what happens? You really will not have time. बरकत ही नहीं होती है. Please stop telling that. A human being, I met a person who was running 16 businesses in Turkey and was leading an aram life. He is doing social impact, running 16 businesses. There's a lot of profitability. He's doing very well. I asked him, are you crazy? 16 businesses. And then you're creating social impact. And then you're taking care of your family. And then you're going out on holiday. And then you're doing all that. How can you do that? He said, human capability is created by Allah, not by human beings. And the capability, the more you explore, it opens up. The limit starts, diminishing. And he said, if you wish to discover the limits of the possible, you have to go into the impossible. Because actually there are no limits for a human being. And if you start believing, मेरे पास काफी वक्त है, then there will be a lot of barakah in your time. And you will be able to do justice. There are people who don't even do a job, don't even have a family. They are bachelors. And they find their work being very highly superloaded and they're not doing much. So it is not logical, but it is about what you believe, how you say, what you say, repeatedly to yourself. So I think you should stop saying that we don't have time. It's very difficult to manage and balance. You can't balance. These are not two different pieces to balance. It's an integrated part. If you just say that, okay, I allocate 20 minutes in a day for social impact, I'm going to help somebody, I'm going to make a call which can make a difference. Even that is enough. Hope that answers.
While taking the questions, I just want to remind Azhar Bhai or Mutahir Bhai, if there are any announcements, please be live on the camera and the mic also. You can unmute and announce if there are any announcements, because we are almost reaching the closure time. Azhar Bhai, are you there?
जी डॉक्टर साहब, अस्सलाम वालेकुम.
क्योंकि टाइम खत्म हो रहा है, मैं नहीं चाह रहा कि आप कोई अनाउंसमेंट रह जाए.
Doctor sir, before Azhar Bhai goes forward, I would like to share something. I have seen a lot of platforms. I've been on a lot of platforms as a guest speaker, but I saw the way you organized, the way you have your team, and the way meticulously आप लोग काम कर रहे हैं. Alhamdulillah, one of the most professionally organized event. बहुत ज़्यादा, there was not much of confusion. Very seamless, very beautifully you organize. I think hats off to you and the team. I really felt very good being here. And inshallah, we should collaborate from our team here in Bangalore with your team to do something more bigger, inshallah. Thank you so much.
For those kind words. Although हमारी तरफ से शुरू में थोड़े हिचकुले हुए हैं, we are sorry for that, लेकिन
No,
इंशाल्लाह
that's quite normal. I mean, anywhere it happens, that's fine. But I really genuinely appreciate the efforts, the way you have done it.
is that right?
Thank you very much, Dr. Shafiq Saab and Coach Syed Habeeb Saab, for your words and time. Now I request all the participants, if you have any questions, queries with respect to the platform, because IIPA, Indian International Professional Association, we have started recently, and this is first webinar of this platform, Alhamdulillah. And any of the participants have any questions or doubts, you may ask for 5 minutes.
Meantime, हबीब सर, कोविड के टाइम में मर्सी मिशन का जो मतलब काम हुआ था, आई रिमेम्बर इट वाज वेरी मच अप्रिशिएटेड, काफी सराहा गया था उस काम को, अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह। मे अल्लाह रिवार्ड यू ऑल ऑफ यू दैट इट वाज अ ह्यूज चैलेंज आई गेस। तो उस वक्त जो काम हुआ था उसको लेकर प्रोफेशनल्स में मतलब आप कुछ थोड़ा रोशनी डालना चाहेंगे कि भाई हमारे अंदर एक अजीब सा एक तो अनडिफाइंड फियर जो मैंने कहा, दूसरा विलिंगनेस नहीं है, तीसरा उसकी इम्पोर्टेंस का शायद उतना शऊर नहीं है, चौथा करेंगे तो कैसे करेंगे, ठीक है, फिर जो है करना क्यों है, मतलब why one is forcing or influencing others to do it। तो थोड़ा क्विकली जरा, क्योंकि हमारे पास माशाल्लाह प्रोफेशनल्स अच्छे अच्छे हैं, they are very well qualified, highly placed, अच्छे अच्छे जॉब्स में हैं, एंड वो जॉब के हद तक they are very good। there is बोलते हैं कि भाई हाँ we are doing professionalism and that's it। तो उसको जरा मतलब थोड़ा, I hope you are understanding my pain।
Yes, of course. And I think I don't know how to answer this question accurately, but I think necessity is the mother of invention. And sometimes what happens is Allah puts you into circumstances where you have no other choice but to stand up and do something. That's what I saw in COVID. COVID के अंदर जितने लोग, especially the youngsters, and I'm telling very categorically, because we had, I think, more than 80% people on the front line. 2,500 volunteers थे हमारे. Most of them were youngsters, and these youngsters were struggling youngsters. They didn't have jobs. Some of them didn't have jobs. Some were struggling. Some came from middle class families, lower middle class families, and most of them, not all of them, but most of them were written off by their families. They were told that tu nalayak hai, you will not be able to do anything, you're stupid, you're good for nothing. And such youngsters were the forerunners in social transformation and social impact during COVID. अब इसका क्या logic है, I really don't know. Sometimes that's what, that Josh and seeing more youngsters come through, people just joined and did. And one of the things which I saw in not only in Bangalore, in Chennai, and many other places, is that our community were the forerunners in social transformation, because the concept of sawab, the concept of the pleasure of Allah, the sunnah of the Prophet being, advising us to, stand up, and the entire, community being like a body. If one part pains, the entire body suffers. You have to stand up. All these narratives which we have, I think, caused that sudden burst of people coming forward and participating. This is what I feel. And our shared narratives, the hadiths, in the stories, the shared stories of the prophets, the Sahaba, they are very, very strong. If you just go there and see khana, khilana logon ko, travelers ko help karna, all this is a part of our normal life. And we always hear this. And that's what stood out. And even the then government, which was not so proactive and it was not very pro minority, also appreciate. They came forward. They could not help, but they appreciated and awarded and rewarded our volunteers, because ये लोग bodies वहां से यहाँ से उठा रहे थे, जहाँ पे अपने खुद के जो लोग थे, they have abandoned the bodies. dead bodies, even Hindus and Christians and all. So हमारे बच्चे गए, उनके भी bodies उठाए, छोटे बच्चे जो इंतकाल हो गए उनके bodies, women, husband ran away from the wife ran away from the husband when he had contracted COVID. Such scenes were there, and amidst all that, a group of these young boys and girls came forward and did. So I think it's there inside our DNA. It's there inside our DNA, and I think it just needs that spark to, for us to just get up and do something. So there's no logic. I really can't find some logical answer to this.
Okay. Jazakallah khair. We are running short of time here. There are some comments about encouragement and appreciation of the session. Jazakallah khair. I'm not going to read those messages. Recordings, inshallah, organizers se aapko inshallah mil jayegi. Lastly, I request Habeeb sir, a short dua ke saath we'll just close the session, inshallah, from your side.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalam ala Rasulihil Kareem amma ba'd. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Shafi'ana Habibana Maulana Muhammadin Barik wa sallim. ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين وجعلنا للمتقين إماما ربنا اغفر لي ولوالدي وللمؤمنين يوم يقوم الحساب سبحان الله وبحمده سبحانك اللهم بحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك جزاك الله خير السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Thank you, sir. I thank all the audience and participants for their active participation and patient hearing. और इंशाल्लाह I think the links जो है वो chat box में दिया गया है. You can join the WhatsApp groups. Inshallah, you'll get the updates about the forthcoming sessions. Azhar bhai, we are done.
Okay. If any people have any questions, you can connect in WhatsApp group. We'll be there for helping you all. Inshallah, we'll collaborate and do some marvelous things. Inshallah.
Jazakallah khair. MashaAllah. It was a very nice, informative session.
I think there are no questions, so we can close, Dr. Saab.
Sure. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.